For centuries, producers from all walks of life have congregated together and bashed down my doors demanding to know, BIGMOO, how do you make your kicks so fat, so dirty, so disgustingly powerful that they cause magnitude 10 earthquakes and tear bodies apart on the dance floor? It's 2:23 in the morning. What better time to pull back the bonnet and expose the inner workings of my big room kicks? Here's how to make a big room kick so savage that Davy Jones himself will rise to the surface of the ocean, bow at your feet in awe of the sheer power you have created. Dude, I'm way too tired for this. Let's just jump into it. All right, I'm gonna be using my Feel It remix as the example for this. For some reason, this track did way better than I was expecting it to do. Hit number 5 on Beatport. Got some pretty good support as well from some pretty big names. Kashmir, Timmy Trumpet, and it was played at like quite a few festivals, clubs, and stuff like that. So it's pretty cool. Pretty generic big room track in my opinion. Nothing that special about it, but hey, seemed to do pretty well. People seem to enjoy it. Got a lot, decent amount of streams. I don't know, like 400k or something. So I don't know. I guess I did something right. Welcome to the inside. This is the project file of my Feel It remix. It's 186 tracks, which to me is actually not that much. Usually my tracks have retarded amounts of different tracks and elements and sounds in there. In case you haven't heard it, here's a little sample of what it sounds like. If you want me to do another tutorial on the leads, my signature tremor sounding fat saw leads that I've used in pretty much all my tracks, the Afterlife, Vibrations, and this one, let me know in the comments. Happy to do that as well, break those down. For now though, we're just gonna be covering the kick and how I make my big room kicks. Not too complicated, to be honest. It's pretty simple. Here is how the kick sounds as a whole, by itself, all together. With some pitch bends as well that don't sound the best by themselves, I'll be honest, but they seem to work pretty well. In context with the rest of the track, dude, this looks really dumb. I'm gonna take this off. Shout out AutoZ for making some of the best sounding but least fashionable headphones in the industry. Okay, the kick, stop distracting me. So, 5 different layers. I'm gonna play them each individually for you right now and kind of break down my choices, why I did what I did. Top kick, very simple. Nothing really special going there. I boosted the transient a little bit by 20% using transient master. And I actually used exactly the same kick that I used for the punch, which I don't normally do. So I guess I was feeling inspired that day. Next up, we have the kick punch. This is gonna be obviously the main meat, the main punch, as the name suggests. Shout out Sabres. I got this from the Sabres 7, 8, 9, 10 pack. It is their kick. I tried a bunch of different punch kicks for this kick, for this track, and none of them sounded as good as this one. I don't know what it is about this kick. Punches super hard and has a really nice, deep, punchy attack. It just glues so well with the elements that I have there. So shout out Sabres, massive kick. And they said they pretty much use the same punch kick for every single track that they make and then change the tail. And I can see why. They've chosen a good kick. Next up, super important, we have the sub. Kind of the essence of what makes the big room kick so powerful and you know, what tears bodies apart on the dance floor. Obviously it kind of sounds like shit by itself, but obviously in context with the punch sounds pretty powerful. That's obviously what makes up kind of the core, kind of the essence of the kick there. So what's going on here? I basically just went through a bunch of different kicks that I liked and ended up choosing one which I thought was cool. It's from a Kashmir pack. Shout out Kashmir. You probably have all of his packs just like everyone else, but for good reason. He makes some good stuff. So I just found a kick that was in key with my track. So a kick that was in E. I cut off the transient because obviously we already have that part covered by the punch kick. And then just added a pretty basic EQ, just boosting the root note 41 and 82, which are like the fundamental and +1 or whatever the fuck it's called in the key of E, to give it just a bit more bang, right? So the next part, this part's a little bit tricky. It takes a bit of just, I guess, finesse, bit of time, bit of effort, bit of caressing, bit of molding to really get it to sound the way that you want it to sound. And I'm talking about the relationship between your punch kick and the sub. And the way I monitor this, the way I listen to this, I have something strapped to the back of my chair. You've probably heard of it. It's called a sub pack.
It's amazing. It's basically just a giant vibrator that straps to the back of your chair and plays those low sub frequencies under 50 hertz or whatever it is that you don't really hear, but that you can feel. Okay, so this is really how you can actually monitor and listen to those frequencies if you don't have the luxury of being able to be in a treated room with a dedicated subwoofer, or, you know, just have like a fucking festival sound system in your backyard that you can monitor those whenever you want, right? So that really helps me to get the balance right and to, you know, these exact fade-ins, where to start the fade in, where to end the fade in, the exact curve of the fade in. There's not really like science to this. You basically just kind of play with it. You fuck around with it for a while until it sounds the way that you want it to feel. So if you want to separate them a bit more, so it's like boom, then you can do that kind of rev bass hardstyle style. Or if you want it to sound really like one cohesive unit and really glued together, then that takes a bit of work to get it there. And then getting the fade out of this part here is also important as well at the very end of the sub. Because obviously you have some tracks where the kick's really short and tight, like Justin Prime style, like dong, dong, dong. And you can clearly hear the end of it.
This is our legacy.
You have other tracks like, you know, Freaks by Timmy Trumpet, or a lot of like Dimitri Vegas like Mike stuff where the kick just sounds like one long continuous kick. Like a lot of Hardwell's tracks like Unity, it's like boom, 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 and so almost like doesn't end. It's like one long continuous thing. So
hands up high, high, cause BIGMOO never dies.
getting that fade out time really is going to sort of determine the character. It's more important than it sounds, right? Because that's going to kind of determine the rhythm, the pace, and kind of what style you're going for there. So next up, the mid layer. This is what really gives it the character, gives it that crunch, really what makes it actually cut through and punch through the rest of the mix, and the audible part sort of in those higher frequencies. So this is what it sounds like by itself. As you can see, like that's kind of the distinctive part that you hear in this particular track in the Feel It remix, especially in the drop, in that first kick where the leads don't come in yet, and you kind of hear the that's what really makes it sound like gritty and powerful and punchy, in my opinion. So you can hear, like, if I mute it and just play everything else, it doesn't sound as like powerful. So obviously it still has that big energy, the big low end, but it just is missing the character, right? The high end. So I had that and I thought it was done and I was like, it's sounding pretty good, but it still feels like it's just missing a little something. Shout out to Sabers. This is actually a trick I learned from them, but just adding just an extra saw wave on top of everything else that you have going on. This one I made in Spire. Actually, I might have even got the preset directly from Sabers. Not even sure if I changed anything, to be honest. It's been a year since I made this, so I can't really remember. Bit of kickstart, obviously, just to remove the transient because we don't need that, and you can play with that the way you want it. Gain, not really sure why I have that there. Maybe I automated it. I don't remember. You can kind of hear with and without it. It does actually add a lot. It's subtle, but it is necessary. So see if you can hear the difference, right? So this is without it. And then this is what it sounds like by itself, just for context. Not the greatest sound ever, but you add it in with the rest of the kick and it adds quite a lot, in my opinion. Without. With. So it's subtle, but you can definitely hear it there. So if I really crank it up, then you'll really hear the difference. Obviously that's way too much, so we're gonna dial it back a bit. I feel like I could have actually pushed it a little bit more than I ended up doing in the track, but I think it just sounded too muddy in the end. Obviously if you have too much of it, then it's way too overwhelming, so you just wanted to, like a little spice, like a little bit of salt, a little bit of seasoning, okay? Don't go too overboard with it. That as a whole is really it. That's the whole kick. That's how I make my big room kicks. Essentially, it's just taking a bunch of other kicks. There's one synth in there as well, and really just playing around with them, taking parts of kicks that you like. You know, you listen to certain kicks, you'd be like, dude, I really like the low end of that. So you take the sub from that one, you take the punch from this one, you take the crunch and the character from that one. Like this one I did up here with the crunch layer. Got to show you, I rolled off everything below like 320 hertz, E4, okay? I just usually do it by octaves, by the key that the track's in. And then kickstart as well, just to remove the transient. And again, getting that fade out time is important. So it's just important to kind of play around the fade in, the fade out, get them all molded in to sound the way that you want it to sound, right? One more thing as well that is important, you'll notice when I do the pitch downs, this waveform looks completely different than the other waveforms. So I could have just taken this one and gone boom, transpose in Logic, -2. Problem with that is that Logic's pitching algorithm kind of sounds like ass. It's not very good, especially when it comes to like kicks, things with transients. It's just not very clean. And obviously kick, kind of the main elephant of a big room track. So you really do want it to sound good. So the way I did this one, I actually bounced it out and I took each layer into Audition, Adobe Audition. It's a trick I learned from Headhunters, served me pretty well. Headhunters obviously kind of knows what he's doing. There's 2 different pitching algorithms in Audition. There's the isotope one and there's the Audition one. Sometimes one of them will sound better than the other one depending on what layer it is. Like for the sub, usually one of them sounds better than the other. And then for all the other layers, the other algorithm sounds better than the other one. I think the isotope usually sounds better, but for sub, Audition sounds better. Maybe it's the other way around, I can't remember. But definitely just try both and see which one sounds better, more clean. And then just do that one, okay? And then you bounce it, chuck it back in your project. And then that's how I kind of do the pitches in a way that sounds more clean than what Logic or your normal DAW would be able to do. So altogether, they sound like this. And in the rest of the context of the track in the drop sound. There you have it, my friend. It's like 2:45 in the morning. So hopefully this has been useful or helpful. I just wanted to quickly break down how I personally make my big room kicks. It's not the only way to make a kick, okay? I'm not saying it's like the best way in the world or whatever to make a kick, but that's just how I personally do it in case you were wondering. So if there's anything else that you want to know about my tracks, how I make them, get these heavy clunky headphones off. The leads, a particular part from whatever track, feel free to let me know in the comments. I'd love to do a full track walkthrough of all of my tracks, but it just frankly takes fucking forever to make those videos. Like the one I had to make for Spinning, which I uploaded on their Facebook channel about how I made vibrations, took fucking hours of my life, okay, to film and edit that. So many problems with CPU and stuff. So ideally I don't like to do those. But yeah, if there's anything specific, feel free to let me know in the comments. I know I haven't put out a ton of songs this year. I've been pretty quiet. I've only had 2 Titans and this remix. But rest assured, next year I have an absolute shitload of music coming for you. I'm super excited about it. Massive collabs with artists way bigger than me, which is really surreal, really exciting. I have everything coming from like chill radio kind of tracks, like more dance friendly commercial stuff, all the way up to my usual, big room bangers, hardstyle, all the good stuff. Lots of it signed and ready to come out March and February next year. Keep an eye out for that. Can't really say much more until it comes out, but I'm very excited. So on that note, hope that helps you a little bit. Hope you learned a little something today. Have a tremendous rest of your year. It's not really much to go. Hope you had an amazing Christmas with your friends, family, and loved ones. You sure as hell deserve it. That's it from me. Big love, and I'll see you next year.